Hey, what's going on guys, Surefire here we are with another top 5 video, the best top 5 third-person shooters. Now, to get on this list, it is pretty simple. You do not have to have a flawless story or even dialogue for that matter, unlike the first-person shooter list I did a week ago. It mostly has to focus on core gameplay. The gameplay has to be flawless, clean, and actually very well choreographed in the cutscenes. Now, if there's a setting to actually switch it to first-person to third-person, that still counts. It technically is both at the same time, so it's not really a big deal if I put one of those in the list. Also, the story and dialogue doesn't have to be too perfect. This is partially because I haven't played that much third-person shooters, so it doesn't really matter too much. Now, that doesn't mean all of them are pretty bad when it comes to story and dialogue. Some of it actually is pretty amazing, but it's just my own valid opinion if I do criticize it when it comes to that behalf. Now, another valid opinion that I actually put in this list is also the actual fact that all third-person shooters could be on this list. It could be RPGs, it could be fighting type, as long as it's third-person matter. Also, I'll leave my good friend Kate's Instagrams in the description below. Please go show him some love. If it wasn't for him, this video would not be possible. And also, time and matter, I need your guys' help when it comes to more ideas on YouTube. Please leave it down in the comments. What list should I actually do next? The horror games, action games, all of the above when it comes to video games. And yeah, please guys take the time and research to help me out. I really do appreciate it, and I actually came up with a solution that I will be uploading every week. I know it's actually a very long time, but guys, it takes me a long time to do the research on these games, so I hope you actually understand. Now, I took up too much of your guys' time. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace. Up first on our list, we got Monster Hunter. Now, Monster Hunter was actually released back in Japan by Capcom, but however, when it actually got famous back in the US, he figured, hey, we can make a pretty penny back in the US when we actually sell this type of game. And let me tell you, it was a massive success. The gameplay is actually brilliant, with the RPG style mostly focuses on the weapons. But not only this, the other two amazing facts what I actually see in this game are actually the monsters. All of them are visually creative in their own way, between the style and actual combos they actually bring upon you. Now, their fighting style, all of them are pretty different, so it must actually do the proper research and actually training to actually fight any monsters you coming up next into the story. What properly makes sense, how it is Monster Hunter, and the only defeat monsters is to train hard and actually competitive with it. So that actually is pretty amazing. All of them have their certain effects when it comes to poison, bleeding, or even electric, so making the game a bit more difficult than its own nature. Now, the type of biomes you can actually find these monsters are pretty amazing. There's one where you can actually go in the ground, one actually is located in a volcano, one is located inside the jungle. And though, have you heard those before? They're all pretty amazing. All of them are bright, numerous colors, where all of them don't feel too same to the other biomes. And I didn't feel any boredom when I actually came to them. Now, they're just biomes, so they're not open world. But however, these proper biomes and maps are pretty huge at the same time. Though there's not side missions, the main missions in this game when it comes to the monsters, it matches truly to the monsters' habitat. It actually does feel that they deserve to actually live there. So it's pretty nice that Capcom took the nice proper research to actually think, what should we put them into? Which I can actually feel the proper love they put into it. The other true amazing thing in this game is actually the orchestrated music that you properly hear throughout the whole games. All of them are visually amazing. They actually match the proper fight scene or even type of cutscene you're actually going through at that time. All of them are very well timed, and all of it actually is pretty good. The music actually get a bit flat now and again, but however, it redeems himself when it actually gets to the proper high notes where it feels more realistic and as such. So Capcom did an amazing job on the music as well, so you won't be bored with that. The other true amazing feature of this game is actually the cutscenes. The cutscenes are very well choreographed, very well shot, including it's very well said. It actually does a proper and natural way how to introduce any of the monsters you're about to fight in the main story. So Capcom is properly nailing at this point how I actually felt true amaze when I saw the monster for the first time. So you won't be bored with the cutscenes in this game as well. The last true amazing feature I have to say about this game is actually there is free DLC. Yeah, there is free DLC. This is partially because Monster Hunter is a very beloved series in the Capcom universe, so they actually know their fans are very loyal to this series, so they figure, we know you've been waiting patiently for the console port for years, here you go, and here, have a bit more stuff to keep you more occupied. That's basically what they said to you when you bought the game for the first time. I appreciate Capcom for showing the appreciation and love they have for their fans, so I thank you, Capcom, and we love you. Now, the reason this is so low on the list, this is partially because the main dialogue that has been said in this whole game is is pretty obnoxious. I felt no too attached to any of the characters you meet throughout the whole main story. If anything, I'd rather do this all by myself with my friends. So yeah, the PCs in this game are useless to me, and I actually feel no love to them. And I actually pay attention to my voice is very flat and actually a bit heartless at the same time, so proving the fact that I didn't like any of the characters in this game. But if you get past that, all the other stuff I have said about this game is all amazing. So if you're looking for a hardcore RPG style amazing game, play this game. You won't regret a thing. Now keep in mind, this is a multiplayer game too, so you and your 3 friends can actually have a blast fighting these fantastic beasts. So like I said about this game, go have a blast, you won't regret a thing, or even your friends for that matter. And yes, let's move on to the other game. Up next, Dead Rising 2. Now I formerly just couldn't put just Dead Rising 1, how obviously that started it all, but I felt like the true sequel of Dead Rising 2 probably was better than any of the other Dead Rising games that we have now. The added combo weapons, including bosses you clearly do fight, are pretty creative in their own visual way. Not only this, but the main dialogue that has been said around the actors have been outstandingly perfect, and though it doesn't have too much effective emotion to it like other games, it is pretty outstanding but a bit decent at some times. Now, the added companions you actually have in this game are pretty devastating bad. Now, I know, companions in video games always are bad, and they actually don't redeem themselves until you have to. But Capcom fixed it a bit. Now, of course, companions in this game don't really help as much, but with the proper mechanics, including magazines you find around the map, they properly help you. There are some magazines that actually hold more ammo to guns, there are some magazines that actually make you more durable, there are some that actually make your companions even stronger or wielding any type of combo weapons you equip with them. And of course, the game adds in comedy as well, but not treating the actors what they actually say is pretty funny. It's actually the true redeeming course where you can actually equip any type of film or clothing that you have at disposal to, only for you to actually look very hilarious when you wear a Lego head. This actually is pretty hilarious, how if you don't want to take the game seriously, you can actually just dress up like an idiot and kill as many zombies as you want and not regretting a thing. And I did like that proper mechanic that Capcom added in. Not only this, but if you feel like actually starting over, how considering this game has a time limit, you could functionally just restart your whole game and you would not lose anything. Not your health, not your rating, nothing. So that was pretty amazing with Capcom's old standards. So if you're looking for a fundamental post-apocalyptic game by zombies, please play Dead Rising 2. You would not regret a thing, and it's probably one of the best one in the whole series. So yeah, go have a blast. Up next, Arkham Knight. Now, this game is actually a masterpiece, how it made quick time events so fun and accurate, how it was one of the best added mechanics in video game history. The also true amazing feature in this game is actually the main storyline to it. The amount of actually they took former ideas of comic books, including the old TV show Batman the Animated Series, all into account. All of it making quite a amount of sense, including having the main actors of Kevin Conroy, including Mark Campbell. But do not rely on Batman or Joker to bring the outstanding performance. As anybody knows, pretty much all of the cast members brings it to an account, to the emotion, anger, including comedy, matches so well with this type of game. Now, of course, what's the case where we spawn in the open world without punching villains in the face? Well, as anybody knows, it's actually located to multiple puzzles at a time thanks to the villain known as Riddler. Now, these certain puzzles are very creative in their own physical way, how they're actually very tricky to the human anatomy by figuring it out. But doing quite so, to the amount of riddles you actually must solve without actually looking up on YouTube is very challenging on its own. Even locating any of the Riddler's men by telling you everything, it won't even help you a bit. It will just show you the location of the Riddler trophies, not the way how to get them, making the whole thing more difficult than it actually needs to be. Also, the game adds in clever music actually orchestrated by an orchestra. This orchestra actually nails it with the proper natural emotion to it, such as Monster Hunter in a way, but however, this does it into account. Also, the amazing cutscenes are more action-packed like a movie, so you also won't be disappointed if you actually do play the main story without skipping them. So if I were you guys, don't skip any cutscenes while you play this game again. And the amount of boss fights you actually do have current into this game is amazing. All of them are physically creative, very challenging, and you must actually perfectly time the dodging, including punching. So they did an outstanding performance, including amazing job on everything in the recording of this game. Between the way how it's shot, the natural graphics, the way how the moon looks over the city is amazing. So if I were you guys, play this game, it's outstanding, or even that, play all of them, all the Arkham series. It actually would have been a fundamental way to actually get in touch with the true alpha of Batman. So if I were you guys, play this and let's move on. Up next, The Witcher 3. Now, of course, The Witcher 3 is notorious for one of the best games of 2015 of its generation, and of course, I can actually agree. Now, let's start with the music. The music itself isn't very well choreographed in certain scenes, but it actually has true adaptive motion when you actually get romantic between any of the women you actually fall in love with, which actually is pretty amazing, and I do like proper romance in video games. Now, the natural true romance that actually goes on throughout the whole game matches pretty well with the atmosphere. It kind of feels like Game of Thrones at sometimes, so you won't be naturally bored when you hear the dialogue what Geralt says when he actually wants to open his feelings up to Yennefer or any other female companion you want to fall in love with. The other true amazing quality of this game is actually the main dialogue has been said about the whole cast. Not once have I felt none of the cast members' lines go even flat, including Geralt for that matter. And gameplay, we have to talk. Now, the gameplay itself is a whole new other level to RPG. This is old school RPG. Everything has to be modified, including armor and potions. You must eat and sleep regularly before anything happens. It makes proper sense and actually brings more difficulty into the actual worlds, which I actually did like that proper mechanic they added in. Now, this game is rated M for mature, and the maturity actually does prove it to account. Like Bulletstorm, though they don't swear as much in this game, that mostly focus around adult activity, if you know what I mean. And this brings it to a whole nother account of the maturity. Though you can make it actually meaningless, just pay it off and just move on, you can actually just do it with true development motion. And despite the fact that I would say this, those certain scenes are creative. Oh man, I feel like a pervert just saying that. But okay, let's move on from something else that isn't that mature. Let's move on to the open world. The open world is naturally creative, full of natural mobs that are all very creative as well. How they're all certain level caps are pretty higher than usual. So it is pretty much sense that you must level up if you want to progress into the game, such as Borderlands. So yeah, please do whatever you can to do side missions as fast as you can, because you're going to need it once you get to the higher level of the mobs. Now, the proper reason this game isn't at number 1 between all the good things I'm saying about it, it's proper because I don't like Geralt for that matter. Sometimes he either gets too cocky, he abuses women or something like in that nature, and I just don't like his character development at all. Though he has his certain moments when Yennefer, those are the only times I actually do like Geralt, I felt no attachment to the main character. But however, the game at number 1, I actually feel all attached to every cast member in that game. And we're gonna get onto it right now. And then finally, at number 1, we have Final Fantasy 15. Now, Final Fantasy 15 is actually a masterpiece with the core, natural, amazing gameplay by the companion's mechanic, including a heart-wrenching story that I have not seen in video games ever. However, that was actually a bit straightforward. Let's actually get into the combat. The natural true combat in this game is actually pretty fast, but in a good manner. You must actually be able to actually parry anytime you actually can, or including dodging, but the amount of time that any enemy moves fast at a certain pace, it actually is a bit tough, making it more harder than it actually needs to be. Now, of course, the other redeeming course of this game is actually the companion mechanic. This mechanic actually helps you in how you actually know when your companions actually have your back. This actually is amazing, how they cover you when you're actually in the middle of a fight. If you're down by low health, they can actually heal you. And of course, when you're actually about to fight an enemy twice your level, they actually warn you and tell you to back off. But even if you do get into the fight, they're still behind you, always loyal to the end. That's finally, we have companions that actually help you. That actually is amazing. The other true amazing thing in this game is actually the proper music that you actually hear. The proper natural orchestra of the whole natural feel to it matches pretty well with the whole certain theme that you go through, which is pretty ironic considering all the games I have talked about with the music, either they actually popped out of nowhere, doesn't really match the scene in certain cutscenes, but not with Final Fantasy. All the music actually feels like it was properly made just for that certain scene, which I actually felt a true natural love to it. The other true amazing thing of this game is actually the main story. Though it was straightforward at the very beginning of the game, you can actually redeem itself considering at the middle of the game there is plenty of twists and turns for you to actually bop your head back and forth. And of course, the amount of dialogue that has been said in certain scenes as Grandmaster Peace, how none of the actors' lines actually have gone flat, which I actually did properly love. Not only this, but the game actually added in the proper mechanics for the actual build that you want to make for your proper weaponry. Though you can actually see these type of swords and guns in real life, it still doesn't change the fact that they are amazing. Now, of course, like the Borderlands franchise, you can actually upgrade one certain weapon to a certain skill tree that you want to make overpowered. I really did like that natural mechanic, how if you're not comfortable with any of the other weapons just for that one, you can even make it stronger than it was before, making it pretty actually fly. And of course, Final Fantasy is actually a fantastic and beautiful game with amazing atmosphere of the open world. Take a look at the smoke, how it actually looks like a horror game at some times, but including an amazing and gut-wrenching feel to it when you see a monster in the background. The game actually did a natural true way of making the atmosphere so uncomfortable but amazing at the same time, which I actually loved. And of course, Final Fantasy 15 is one of the most best third-person games I have ever played in my life.
If you actually think one thing actually deserves to be on this list, leave it down in the comments below. Please guys, I really do appreciate your patience and actually gratitude to the videos. Please guys, leave an honest opinion down below, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.